What's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Help me to get to 100 subscribers. So I'm going to give my feelings on the Washington free agency haul thus far and just give a little tidbits on my opinion. And I encourage you to go to the comments and leave your opinion on what the team is doing. And so first of all, let me start out by saying that Adam Peters is definitely playing chess. He's holding on to his salary cap dollars for a reason. There has to be a special reason. Part of me thinks that he's just letting the chips fall where they may and then leaving some room for Hendrickson to possibly sign with the team. I mean, that's going to be a $30 million a year investment at least. And it might be a 2-3 year investment as well. And also part of me thinks that he's waiting until after the draft to probably try to utilize 2026 and 2027 draft picks to acquire him. But I may be wrong, but I think that he's up to something as it relates to holding on to his salaries. But one thing I said on Twitter is that Adam Peters is just being smart. I mean, in 2 years, he can extend Jaden Daniels. In 3 years, he has to give him a new contract. And like I said previously, that contract in a few years might be up to $500 million. So he's being smart. He's bringing in players that are good players. They might be a little bit long in the tooth, but they're good enough for you to compete. And he's building through the draft. He puts a premium on bringing in talent. And then once you start overhauling the roster with as much talent as you can and just bringing in these good players on 1 and 2 years deals, pretty soon you might look up and you're going to have some bona fide superstars out there that are young. So I think that's smart. Just a couple notes on some of the players. Let's see. Jonathan Jones, I like the pickup. I think that the defensive backfield has improved. And I think Jonathan Jones ran a 4.28 to 4.33 coming out of college 9 years ago. And so he has speed. And to me, when you have that kind of speed, that knocks off or adds, let's say that adds a couple more years to your playing lifetime. I mean, if you think about Darrell Green running a 4.1 40, I mean, he milked that all the way into his 40s to the point whereas when he went up against, what's the guy's name? Randy Moss. When he went up against Randy Moss, he was like 38, 39 years old, but his speed was still there. And he shut Randy Moss down because Randy Moss would typically run, go balls and Moss people, but Darrell Green had great leaping ability and great speed. He was able to catch up with him, and that definitely extended his career. I think Jonathan Jones has probably some time, some good play left. So there's that. Let's see who else. Kinlaw. I like his size. I just hope they can get the best out of him. And I think they will. This coaching staff is situated as such that they do get the best possible out of their players. Think about it. They overachieved last year and made it all the way to the championship game. So when you have a coach that instills confidence in your team and lets them play their ball, and then you have assistant coaches who put their players in position to be the best they can be, then you have great seasons like you had last year. Now, for me, selfishly, I want the Commanders to bring in some young guys that you can develop. But the thing is, guys are getting overpaid. And not all of them, because I think people like Nick Westbrook-Kenny is a good receiver that's young, that could have been had. You know, he only signed a 2-year, $6 million deal with $3 million guaranteed. So you can bring in guys like that, but apparently they don't want to go that route. And so to me, that makes it really apparent that Adam Peters is looking to build through the draft and bring in solid players until the roster is turned over. At the same time, saving money, because you got to pay. You're going to have to pay Terry McLaurin. You're going to have to pay Jaden Daniels in a couple years. So he's being smart, and that's how you build a roster. Now, my thing is, are you sacrificing getting over the hump next year? Like, the guys that they bought in aren't necessarily guys that can get you over the hump of the NFC Championship and into the Super Bowl. Luckily, you have a quarterback that can do that in spite of whatever team. If it's a marginal team, he can take a marginal team to the playoffs. So that's good. But my fear is that they might, take a step back, because it just doesn't seem like they still have the playmakers they need. But we'll see. There's the good thing is there are a lot of gems in the NFL draft this year. And if he can trade back not too far and then pick up some picks, he will get his hands on some really talented guys. And so we'll see how that goes. And what else? So I like Jonathan Jones. He's a solid cornerback. He's got instincts, and that's all I ask for. Just have instincts as a DB, because you need them, or you can just get beat all the time or beat a lot. You gotta have ball instincts if you're a DB, and great timing as well. So I think as I said on Twitter, I think they've upgraded their defensive backfield from a D to a C plus, possibly a B. So we'll see. Defensive line, they're obviously getting big players. They're getting bigger players, because if you think about it, Kinlaw is 6'5", 320. They just signed, they just signed the other guy from the Patriots. I do not remember his name because it just happened a few minutes ago. But he's 6'5", 280. Okay. And look at the offensive line. They signed Tunsil, who is 6'5", 340. So they are getting bigger and beefier. It's my opinion that Dan Quinn and the team came out in the field and they saw how big the Eagles were, and I'm sure they were like, you know what, we need to get bigger. So you can tell they're purposely trying to get bigger and stronger, especially in the trenches. And this goes back to one of my previous videos where I said it's obvious they're looking for guys with speed, size. What's the third one? Speed, size, and instincts. And even better if you have a combination of the three. So they picked up Jonathan Jones, who has speed at the DB position. They pick up Will Harris, who's a little bit speedier than Jeremy Chin. And I like Jeremy Chin, by the way, but I like Will Harris a little bit better. I think you'll see him flash a little more on your TV screens when you watch games. You'll see him more in the picture. He's a good run support player, and he's better in coverage. I didn't realize that Jeremy Chin was allowed 7 touchdowns, whereas Will Harris only allowed 0 as far as what was calculated by maybe PFF. I can't remember which data source that's from, but there's just something a little bit quicker and more instinctive about Will Harris. And I always was wondering, okay, why did people feel so high on Jeremy Chin? And we had one sports reporter even say he was spectacular last year. And I just always thought, man, Jeremy Chin, I didn't see him in enough plays outside of doing his job. You know, he came up, supported, tackled, helped, you know, covered the linebacker from time to time. I mean, not a linebacker, a tight end from time to time. He did his job, but you didn't see him force the issue. You didn't see him flash. And I think you'll see a little bit more of that with Will Harris. And I think you still need that one elite defensive back, but I do believe that they have more depth than you think. I like Bobby Price, who came in from Detroit last year. He didn't really get to play, but he's 6'3". He's a DB, and he's got good size, and he can definitely cover as well. And then they brought in Jonathan Jones, and they have Lattimore, and they even have Kevin Seymour, or Kevon Seymour. I don't know how he pronounces it, but he played and started for the Ravens for a bit there. So they have more experienced defensive backs and guys who can definitely be an upgrade to what you had on the back end. And they're bringing in bigger players for the defensive front and the offensive front as well. So just bringing in Tunsil at 6'5", 340, then you move 6'6", 300 bills plus, Brandon Coleman inside. Then you got another 6'6" guy, 6'5" guy in Wiley. The center doesn't have to be too. I've never known a center to be 6'6", but Beatis is 6'4". You know, so they're beefing up that offensive line, that defensive line. So, and even Golston. I think Golston is he 6'3", 6'4", 300? I think he's 6'4", but he's a run stopper. He's hard to move. He's very good at the point of attack. So I think they will get better if they can stay healthy. And I like these moves, but at the same time, I'm a little bit uneasy about not having younger guys that, whereas some of the free agents that were out there seem like they will be slam dunks for this team, but I understand where Adam Peters is coming from. So we'll see. So what are your thoughts? Let's continue this discourse in the comments, and that's all I got. So far, you know, they're just doing some solidifying here. But is it enough to get them over the hump? It's tough to say. But I guess my thing is, will they improve statistically? Probably defensively. They'll probably have a better pass defense. They'll probably have a better run defense because they're bringing in guys who are better at the run. So we'll see. All right.